The more you obsess over getting your child to talk, the more you might actually be delaying their progress. I know that sounds like the opposite of what every other speech hack video tells you, but there's a deep neurobiological reason why your toddler might stay silent despite your best efforts. Most parents fall into a pressure trap where they constantly ask, "What's this?" or "Can you say apple?" While you think you're teaching, you might actually be triggering a defensive state in their nervous system that makes them shut down entirely. So today I'm going to show you why talking more won't necessarily make your child talk and how you should instead follow my play more, talk less strategy. I'm going to pull back the curtain on how we move a child from non-speaking to speaking in the clinic by focusing on the language mountain rather than just straight memorization. And how do you play more and talk less? Step 1, be silly. Step 2, find a preferred activity. And step 3, create bonding moments in between play. This might sound counterintuitive, but there's a real reason behind it. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why trying to make your child talk can backfire and what to do instead to help them communicate faster and more naturally. Hey everyone, I'm Jose, a licensed pediatric SLPA or speech therapist. And I've seen this pattern over and over again. Parents want to help and they're eager to. They care very deeply. I spent years studying evidence-based approaches like DIR floor time, the Play Project, just to name some, because I wanted to understand why the standard repeat after me methods often fail in our toughest cases. But sometimes all that pressure to hear words, repeat after me, can create the exact opposite effect. Silence, frustration, or avoidance. And by the end of this video, that's exactly what I'll show you how to avoid. We're going to dive into the silent revolution in speech therapy, shifting the focus from what your child says to how your child feels. So stick around because this video is loaded with practical tips. And if you want to work with us, then click the link in the description to schedule a call. Now, before we get into it, let me show you exactly what I mean. A mom tells her child, "Say cup, come on." You can say it. The child looks away, drops the cup, and walks off. It feels like they're being stubborn, but what's actually happening in their brain is switching into protection. Instead of learning, they're shutting down. In the world of neuroscience, we call this dissolution. Basically, when a child feels pressure to perform, even gentle pressure, their nervous system goes from curiosity to defense. And when that happens, language learning pauses. Because language doesn't grow in performance, it grows in connection. Later on in this video, I'll reveal a happy sabotage method that I use in my clinic that actually forces the brain to want to communicate without you saying a word. You'll also see why your child's sensory profile might be the hidden reason why they aren't talking yet. So, for a child, silliness is the first thing they understand and respond to. And laughing is their first real language response output. Smiling and laughing are the first forms of communication that children develop, which are meant to convey participation, as opposed to rejection of a situation. In clinical terms, we call this high affect. Affect is a signal that helps a child's brain organize information. So joy and excitement create a brake on the heart, slowing it down so the child stays in a state of calm alertness. This is ideal for learning. This is why being silly is step 1. For this, you'll have to look outside of the box. Generating creative and clever silliness takes some practice. It's like a muscle. Luckily, you can gain ground by copying the silliness that makes them laugh, smile, or warrants curiosity. So take a look at your child, see what they're laughing at, see what motivates them or gives them intrigue, and try to copy that. It's that simple, at least to start. Silliness is number 1 because it's where we can practice shared attention with a human. Sometimes a child will share attention with a human when there's a third subject involved, like a toy or a video. But silliness is what can cut the dependency from anything else. The real goal, as I mentioned, is shared attention. This concept comes from DIR floor time and the Play Project. These are evidence-based approaches for growing connections and bonds with developmentally delayed children. Research shows that shared attention is the single strongest predictor of later language abilities in late talkers. Simultaneously, silliness can harness the power of regulation. Nobody feels comfortable communicating when they're dysregulated, like anxious, sad, or angry. But once the mood is shifted to something like silliness or happiness, then it's a different story. Arguably, regulation is itself the goal, and silliness is the vehicle we're going to use to get to that goal. The key is shifting focus from getting words out to inviting interaction. It's not about teaching your child to say words. It's about helping them want to communicate. When they feel safe, understood, and connected, the words start flowing naturally. So if you ever thought, I just wish my child would talk already, this video will show you why that mindset is holding them back and how to create an environment that blooms communication effortlessly. From there, we land on step 2, find a preferred activity. The child might laugh or smile at an action in passing, but do they want to interact and continue with the moment? This is where we start climbing the language mountain. At the base of the mountain, it's all about having fun to spark the first steps of engagement. We want to grow this interaction into continuous moments. This also implies that some moments are completely acceptable if they do not involve any words or verbal language. In fact, nonverbal play like roughhousing or sensory play is often the fastest way to help a child gain the foundational skills for social communication. In a preferred activity, the child will want to interact with you as the adult. This is the foundation for language, as language is naturally a back and forth volley of communicated ideas via words, gestures, or sounds. DIR Floor Time and the Play Project both suggest this as the natural next step after shared attention, engagement. The goal with engagement is getting the child to want to interact with you as the adult. We want to provide fun and low stress situations to allow the child to participate. One technique I love is happy sabotage. At least that's what I call it. Creating a tiny problem the child has to solve by noticing you. One example that I do is something absurd, like taking a toy and putting it on my head. From here, I'll build up the suspense by sneezing, and then I'll make the toy fall from my head. In my experience, this is an absurdity that the child simply can't not see. So it'll look something like this. Ah, 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 choo! And after watching it fall once, maybe twice, they may feel comfortable enough to reach for the toy, or even better, put their hands out to want to catch it. This idea I got from the great Laura Mize, an SLP here in Florida. It's one of the best tricks I have in my toolbox. Other absurdities that I've come up with is doing magic to children. This I do when a small object falls on the floor. Let's say it's a Lego piece or a little toy car. If it falls without the child noticing, I'll pick it up and I'll reach for their ear and I'll lightly touch it, making it seem like I picked it out of their ear, and I'll show it to them. Their faces are priceless when they take a look and reach for their ear to see if it's still there, if anything else is there, to figure out how it even wound up there. Warning, they may want to reenact this and fit the piece right back into their ear. But if not, they'll go back to playing and they'll be happy and smile. Another absurdity that I do is the guess which hand game. So let's say the toy car falls from the desk or from the table and the child sees it. While they're tracking it, I'll hide it into one of my hands and I'll cross my hands and I'll ask them, guess which hand it's in. So if they guess right, I'll let them know positively, like a ding, ding, ding. Or if they guess wrong, I'll create a buzzer sound like a eh. They actually might want to take the object at that point, hide it in their hands, and ask me which hand it's in. But usually it's followed up with a laugh and a motivated interest to try again, if the situation lends itself to that. Little caveat here, this works best with children that can stay sharing attention. A child who is too young or is still in the early stages of sharing attention may not respond adequately to this game. Step 3 is forming a bond. So kids aren't born with all-knowing knowledge. As a matter of fact, they know nothing. We have to teach them everything. For young children with delayed language, they especially don't know how to form a connection or a bond. We as adults must teach them how to form connections by forming connections with them. It seems so simple, but most people miss this part. Even the most developmentally delayed child will accept connection and bonding. The difficult part is knowing what kind of connection to offer. Connection is rather simple. A hug, a high five, a compliment. See, every child that walks into the therapy room with me, I tell them how happy I am to see them. If it's been a while, then how much I miss them. They might not even understand. They might be very delayed talkers, might be 2 or 3 years old. I'm still showering them with compliments at the very least. So DIR Floor Time highlights this, specifically in FEDC 2, engagement and relatedness. Now you may be wondering, Jose, if this is so simple, then why does it present itself as such a challenge? Stay with me. The challenge lies in your child's unique sensory profile. According to Winnie Dunn's model, every child and every person has a different sensory threshold input. A child who is sensory sensitive might be overwhelmed by a loud yes and actively retreat from the interaction. Meanwhile, a sensation seeker might need high energy roughhousing to even notice you. The challenge is finding what works. Does your child like to be swung? Does your child like to be sung to in a comical manner? Does your child prefer small scale affection like offering a low volume yes and passive high fives? By providing the right sensory diet, we help them achieve a regulated state, which is the absolute prerequisite for language and forming a bond. Once you combine these 3 steps, you are ready for the single most powerful tool in the SLP toolkit. That is the expectant pause. This is where you stop talking. You give your child at least 10 seconds of silence to process and initiate. Preferably aim for 15 to 20. Research from the Hannon Center shows that parents who talk less and maintain balanced turns see the most significant gains in their child's reciprocity. Once you combine these 3 steps, you will effectively be using the talk less, play more strategy. One that will, over time, prove itself to be more and more effective. As discussed, children need to be taught the core elements of language, which can be produced effectively by 1. Being silly, and 2. Finding a preferred activity, and 3. Forming a socio-emotional connection or bond. If you focus on these foundations, the expressive language, the words, will follow as a natural result of a safe and joyful relationship. We work with parents, caregivers, teachers, therapists, basically anyone that could benefit from these approaches. If you're interested in working with us, click the link below to schedule a call so we can help you get the child or children in your life talking more. Let's stop guessing games and start seeing real progress.